Hi. I'm Giuseppe Incarnato, Chairman and CEO IGI Investimenti Group. Welcome to Private Equity Lesson 6784. How can private equity help target companies? As frequently mentioned, the intervention of an institutional investor in the risk capital of a company is not limited to the contribution of new resources but may enable the company to enter into a new phase of its life cycle, influenced and supported by the collaboration with a professional interlocutor. The issue of the role of investors, who are not only capital providers, but real active owners who, working in support of the board and management of the company, contribute to the implementation of growth and value creation strategies, emerges centrally. As proof of the validity of this type of attitude, several studies have shown how investor activism can contribute to achieve higher performance than the market or the reference benchmark. But what exactly does this attitude of active ownership consist of? What are the corporate areas in which, by virtue of and respecting their role, the institutional investor can take part? Taking into consideration also the generalist nature of private equity operators, ordinary business is normally left in the hands of the entrepreneur or the management team, as subjects who have all the elements and information to be able to manage their development. Consequently, the area that most concerns the intervention of the operator is precisely the one with extraordinary nature characteristics, that is, strategic projects and operations that differ from normal company management. We should not forget that, regardless of any type of shareholding held, the investor's interest is necessarily aimed at the revaluation of the investment, and, for this reason, his intervention will always be aimed at achieving growth and development objectives. Regarding this perspective, two considerations should be made. In the first place, turnaround transactions are normally an exception, as they represent situations in which the purpose of the investment is the restructuring of the ordinary operations of the company itself, and consequently, the intervention of the private equity operator must necessarily be more invasive. Secondly, each transaction is in fact a world of its own, and the attitude of the investor-shareholder must always be calibrated on the basis of the investment objectives and the relationship that exists with the company. The areas which, according to the market practice and sector literature, are typically subject of intervention by private capital operators will be dealt with in detail below: contribution of professional contacts and sounding board effect for the entrepreneurial idea, support for the review of managerial processes and strategic framework, support for internationalization, external growth, and creation of new business areas, financial advice and services, focus and investment in innovation, research, and development for greater production competitiveness. Support to the entrepreneur in dealing with managerial processes and possible generational transitions. Promotion of ESG practices. Each investor brings with him his own wealth of experiences and contacts, which can constitute a very important opportunity for the company for discussion and reflection. It is about accessing a vision through the eyes of an outsider, which gives the company the opportunity to analyze consolidated procedures and practices as opposed to the experience lived in other realities. According to some studies, most companies very rarely compare their management habits with market practices and, as a result, they often simply do not realize the room for improvement they could work on. It is with this in mind that the investor can become a sort of sparring partner for the entrepreneur or for the management, acting both as a support and comfort interlocutor, and as a source of stimulus and training for the company in dealing with changes or actions of an extraordinary nature. Obviously, the situation is different when transactions such as buyouts are examined, where, de facto, the investor is the majority shareholder of the company and can therefore directly take positions on the managers and management methods of the company. An element to be considered in relation to this specific contribution concerns the operator's previous experience, or whether the investor has a consolidated track record relating to the type of investment, or in-depth knowledge of the sector to which the investee company belongs. The investment by a private capital operator is also an important amplifier for the company, that is a great opportunity for visibility by the industrial and financial community. This is because, in many respects, the investment is seen as a confirmation of the validity of the business model, as well as the growth prospects of the reference market. In other words, the trust placed by the operator in the company, the entrepreneur or the top management is certainly a good business card to be able to benefit from both in the relationship with other lenders, and with customers and other companies in the sector. This contribution proves even more crucial in turnaround investments, where the intervention and the contribution of external skills is normally the key to embarking on a successful corporate restructuring process. In a competitive market and in a rapidly evolving context, it is essential to be able to make optimal decisions in a short time and with good forecasting skills. In this context, the comparison with the institutional investor and the contribution of skills, experiences and contacts are particularly beneficial to the company, as well as greater efficiency of decision-making processes. Governance is one of the first aspects where the investor acts for a greater formalization of processes. This activity is aimed at protecting its position, but also that of minority shareholders. A well-structured corporate governance, in its strategic organizational meaning, is an important source of corporate value creation, which helps to strengthen transparency and the exercise of shareholders' rights. It is also possible to affirm that a greater investor activism often involves a more efficient use of corporate assets, with a general mitigation effect of corporate risk. Investor intervention usually stimulates the adoption of more transparent and structured management practices. From a survey conducted on a sample of 15,000 companies throughout the world through the analysis of 18 selected management performance indicators, it emerges that companies owned by a private equity investor have a better management quality than other types of properties present in the market. The improvement of management practices can be particularly influenced by the activation of numerous measurement and control activities of company management which are carried out, first of all, with an intensification of the corporate reform.